Hey everyone, UC here from iTradePrice. Let us get started for this weekly video. So QQQ, right? That's the index weekly chart. Let's go actually take a look at the monthly chart as well, right? Just for a quick view of what's going on. So we've had maybe almost a little like 5-6 days of March, and it's for 5 days. It's quite a range, right? It just looks pretty weak. That's where we opened. We saw a little bit move on the upside, but couldn't really hold and got rejected from this trend line right over here. So that means we did not see a good follow through, a bullish follow through to this hammer bar right here, right? A lot of people were trying to see that if you're going to get a bounce like what we got a few weeks ago, something like that, but it did not happen. This trend line became the resistance, and in fact, we got a little bit of top wick, right? Something like that. So that does not really bode well for the overall structure if you are on the bullish side. Let's go to a 3D chart. So it's actually a 3-day chart. So something lower than a week, but something higher than a day, right? It's just an additional data point for you to look at. So what do you see? More red bars, right? Straight away, more bearish pressure, right? No green bar has any upside follow through, right? This was the green bar, no upside right there. This one green bar, no upside, right? This one, I would not call this one an upside, right? Because this one is still just within this range. And in fact, we got a big bearish bar that clearly outside bar, right? Which means it's opened above the high of this one, but closed below the low of this one. So that is in itself a bearish structure, right? So more pain ahead. That looks like it. Seriously, I mean, it's just the way it is coming up to be in a daily time frame. Same as the story, right? This was the structure, right? Where we saw a little bit bounce, kind of went sideways, and then again we saw a breakdown from here, a big breakdown a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and then we saw a big bounce with some, good volume right there. But then it's kind of stalled, right? This was sort of really choppy sessions sideways all throughout the past 5-6 sessions right here, gave us good range, of course, to trade, but there was no breakout, right? There was absolutely no breakout. The way it paid us was just buying at the low end and selling or shorting at the high end of this range, right? A lot of people got trapped when they were trying to buy this breakout and it just failed. So let's see what happens. But right now it is just under pressure, right? Unless we start seeing some good move. If I go to a lower time frame, let's see, I don't know, 30 minutes, right? Uh, Actually, I think I'll bring my levels, other ones right there. Actually, let's go even more than that. Let's go to like 15 minutes, right? So uh, right here. So that tells you the sort of the structure, right? This was the kind of a support. We broke down, tried to get back up, made a lower high, and then Friday we kept on selling off and just kind of closed towards the low end. So that's the sort of the channel, right? Let's see if we can get above. So the first sign that I would assume that the market is getting somewhat strong, because remember it got rejected from this uptrend line, downtrend line, right, in a higher time frame. So if it can get above 341.3, right, that's sort of my level to target that, hey, if it gets back strong a little bit, and then it can eventually maybe flag here or something, and then we can see if it can try to move towards this downtrend line again, retest that trend line. That would be a sign for some sort of a bullish structure. But if it remains below 341.3 even, and then just breaks down from this 334 support level right here, which we kind of bounced twice from on Friday, then definitely you can target the lower side of this channel, right? Channel trend line. This one, this is a channel top trend line, and this is a channel bottom trend line. So that can become the sort of the trade to look for. Okay. Okay, let's go check out some components of Amazon. Weekly chart, we are still comfortably below this long-term uptrend line, right? Which it broke down early part of this year. So we did see a bounce from there and it tested this trend line, right? We saw this thing broke down, we saw a retest of that trend line, and since then we've just been kind of going down. No follow through to the upside again to this bullish bar. In fact, we have a nice looking bearish bar and it is kind of getting tight here, right? So it will go one way or the other. So that's the sort of the price action to look for as it gets more tight if it remains like that, right? So daily view, this 3090 is the level that it kept on rejecting from all this prior week and towards the last part of the week prior to that. So that tells you that it has to get above 3090, right, and close above it, which would be also this trend, this downtrend line, mini trend line. Then we can target this move to the upside. Otherwise, if it goes like this and then just see if this trend line holds or not, we get a bounce here and then a breakdown. But that's the sort of the structure I'll be keeping an eye on to trade Amazon. Apple, a lot of people like to trade that, but I personally don't trade it that much at all. It's just just keep an eye on it definitely because it does because of the level of weight it has on the index. Definitely, it is one of the important tickers to keep an eye on. Not much happening in this name as well. We have these, I would say, neutral or insignificant bars, right? The week, the chart opens and closes at the same level. So not really much going on except that it is in a downtrend still, right? It tried to break up above this one right here technically, but still closed below previous week's closing price. So again, not much happening, boring price action from that perspective, and kind of range bound, right? So nothing much happening. Let's go to this one right here. So the level that to look for early next week, again, 161.9 right here. We have multiple touch points there that it saw some bounce from. So as long as it can hold that, sure, it can be sideways and all that stuff. But if it gives up that, that's sort of the line that bulls, I think, are defending. If it gets below that, the structure gets weak. Okay. Tesla, I know everyone wants to trade that. We also trade that a lot. Monthly time frame. Okay, this is not a chart of a bullish ticker, right? It's just, yes, we are seeing these bottom breaks right here in the monthly time frame, but there's still not any green bar here at the monthly level where you can say, okay, we have seen some pause on a higher time frame to this recent downtrend. Okay, in a weekly level, all right, we got some bulls coming back, and actually, to be honest with you, relative to the rest of the market, it is holding nice, right? So we'll see how and what it trades where, but from structure point of view, it did make a higher high and a higher low, right, in the weekly time frame. So that can be a sign, but what I'm concerned about is this was the long-term trend line, right? Uptrend line it broke down from, nice bottom wick, and then a little bit of rejection again as it back tested that one, right? So we have a little bit of bottom wick. Let's go into the daily and see how it is behaving right there. So if you guys remember 947, 953 level right here, right, where it kept on rejecting from, and then it just broke down, bounced back up, and now the same level rejection that it was giving us around 948, 953. Same level, you can say somewhat it is now establishing it at 890 area, right? Because we have these multiple touch points right there where it can't kind of seem to get above. So that is the resistance level that we have to keep in mind, that it needs to get above for us to be sort of, bullish on this name, right? And right now, it is holding nicely because all it has done so far is it has tried to get above this downtrend line, right? And now it's back testing that trend line, right? So Friday was a decent down day, not a really super bearish day. So unless we see some follow through to the downside, maybe it wants to go back up a little bit. If I bring my levels, lower time frame levels like this, let me get into, I don't know, 15-minute, right? So these are all the intraday charts that we play and like to chart. So I like playing this name a lot because it follows these patterns a lot, right? So one can play the breakdown from those channels, all that stuff, and it's nice. Like, for example, over here, it broke down, it gave a nice trade. It broke down, gave a nice downside trade, right? So now this is the level 828 point area where we have this sort of a double bottom. But if it gives up, then 814 is the level to target on the downside. Structurally, it will remain weak as long as 850 below 857 or 856. I'm gonna just round it up because that's where it had this support from, and now it is somewhat of a resistance, right? So if it can target above that, it would be nice because that would be sort of a trying to get above this sort of a trend line. So that would be a nice, and just price wise, right? Structurally wise, it would just be getting strong above 857 only. Otherwise, it remains weak. And we will find out how to play it in intraday time frame. So this is a 5-minute view. Really nice looking patterns here. So you really have to learn these patterns, look for these patterns, identify these. For example, this one on Thursday, right? A really nice pattern right here, the way it was playing out. Let me go into actually 2-minute because sometimes it gives a better view right here. You can see how this bear flag kind of played out like this. This was like this. It came down, and then this pattern right here. You can call it any pattern, right? Bear flag, dragon, doji, tiger punch, whatever. Name does not matter. What matters is the price action. So what is happening here is you see these big, long, bearish bars, downside pressure. But anytime that bounce comes, it's weak, right? And the bounces are overlapping, right? So all these green bars you see are overlapping versus these red bars. There's not much overlap, and that means there's more downside pressure. So the better trade would be to look for a short rather than trying to play the bounce. Okay, so those kind of things that you need to just kind of keep an eye on, and then if you had played that, good price action to go off of. Let's look at square. Let's go to weekly time frame. Yeah, I mean, we saw a little bit of bounce from this green box zone, right? But still, again, got rejected from this 131 area right here. We have this one rejection, this one rejection. So unless it can clear that, then we can say, okay, wants to target the higher time frame resistance. But for till that time, it's just weak, right? So let's go into daily and see what's going on. Still weak, not really good looking chart. We have this gap fill towards the downside that it might want to go and touch. So unless that reverses, it remains weak. SPY. Okay, let's get into clean this up a little bit. Actually, let's do SPX. That one is a much better name to look at. Just a lot of people like to trade that. Okay, I think I don't have levels on that, so let's just pick this one. Still downtrend line. Couldn't really cross above that. But one thing it's just a setup, right? The one setup I see is this. Actually, let me go into a lower time frame, and you'll see it just feels heavy with this potential bear flag, right? Where we have this move down, and now it's kind of going upwards slightly, but in sort of a controlled manner, and it's just not seeing an urgency to get back up. So that is the price action, sort of a classic definition of a flat bear flag, right? Where the bounces are just not seeing upside follow through, and you are sort of in a slight neutral to sideways kind of a range, and then it just kind of boom, falls down. So that can be a pattern to look for and see if it plays out early next week. To go on the upside, the first sign I would see is 43.46. If it can get above that, that would be the sort of the low end of Thursday and high of Friday. So that is a significant level to see early in the next week, and see if it can get above that. Hold that level, make a higher low, and try to target this downtrend line if it wants to kind of make that move. Okay, because right now what just happened is just bounced from this midweek low that it saw right here. So we just saw a little bit of bounce from there, and it just kind of sideways. Okay, NVDA. Let's go there. Let's get into a sort of a monthly. Okay, monthly. Yeah, again, just weak structure right now as long as it's below 243 at a monthly level, right? Let's get into weekly. Top wicks that we had been analyzing for the past few weeks right here. This is the downtrend line, right? No follow through to this hammer bar, right? Still weak below 243. Now let's get into daily, see what's going on. So yep, this was getting tight right here. It broke down, saw a quick bounce up from there, and now it's kind of just finding resistance all the way here, 243 area. So if it can clear that with some nice bounce, that would be nice. One pattern I see, and sometimes it can be a good one, is that you have this congestion zone, right below 243 resistance, right? Congestion zone. Why? Because every time it's just the structure is congested, price is not going anywhere. And then on Friday we saw this move down, right? That is a breakout, right? Because the price did not close in its previous range. So what you do is you put a buy stop order to go long above the high of this breakout bar. So what that setup tells you is that you're going to play the failure of this breakout, right? A lot of people got short on this breakdown failure, and if it gets above this, they would cover their position, and that would mean that we would see a big, nice looking bullish move to the upside. If it can take out this downtrend line, even better, right? But that's the sort of the setup you play. If it plays out, sure, good. If it does not, okay, on to the next move. Okay, things like that. Let's look at a couple of more. Shop. Weekly, still downtrend line, heavy. I know this was the bearish flag break that we made plenty on, right? It's still weak, no upside follow through to this pretty looking weekly green bar. In fact, we saw that people saw it as a chance to dump even more shares, right? That people who maybe were stuck or something in this name, but even earnings couldn't really do anything to this name. Daily view, still downtrend, nothing going on, right? Just weak name. So look for strength to short, because if you're going to play it on the breakout to the downside, it's just not a good trade from risk and reward perspective, I think. So you just have to kind of wait for it to give you a good setup to get into. Okay. Let's look at NQ. So I like to play NQ a lot, is because number one, it offers excellent liquidity, right? And then it's just an active name to trade, and a lot of times I don't even look at these price, like 14,400, 14,600. It does not matter, because you're trading a margin, and margin requirements, definitely different brokers have different requirements, but usually I think Ninja Trader, that's where I trade it. Ninja Trader has like $2,000, I think, for one NQ contract. And if you want to trade micros, I think you can do it at $200 for a contract. But it just does not require that much upfront, right, at all. But what is good about it is that price does not matter. You're not buying it at $14,000 a share or something like that, right? You're just buying it on a margin or a set margin, right? So what you play when you trade futures is this is a pure pattern price action play, right? So that's all what matters is that you want to play the pattern, right? So that's what I play that. Because it's just a good instrument to trade if you are a price action trader. So something to look into. Let's look at one more name, maybe Microsoft. Okay, I know I have personally not traded that name in a while, but sometimes it gives you good moves. But again, I like to keep an eye on it just because it has a good weightage on QQQ, just like Apple as well, right? So here's the downtrend line, sort of still weak name. It touched the trend line and it got rejected hard from there, right? Exactly this one. And now we are at the lower end of its recent price structure. So let's see what happens if we get maybe a inside bar early next week, Monday, and then a follow through to the downside, or we see a little bit of upside. And if it breaks out this time, definitely this will be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably fifth or sixth time that it wants to get above this downtrend line. So certainly, I think that can be a good breakout play because it's doing it for the fifth, sixth time, and the chances are that it's not going to get rejected that time. It will just have some momentum behind it that it's doing it for that many times, right? So something to kind of consider. All right, so I know we went over 20 minutes here. So if you guys have any questions, like always, please do not hold back. Reach out, email, talk to us on Discord, myself or any. We're always happy to help. Take care, guys, and have a good rest of your Sunday.